webinar in our Big Five series, A Clear View of Reading. We're so happy you joined us here tonight to learn about one of our 5 essential reading components, phonological awareness. I'm Janet Pedrazi, the Director of Academic Content at Lexplore and also a public school teacher for over 23 years. If you're not familiar with Lexplore, we are a 3-minute reading assessment that uses AI and eye tracking to determine a child's reading ability. And uniquely, with the power of eye tracking, we can even report silent reading fluency. We are leaders in the science of reading and offer many tools and training and reading videos that you can access on our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, and our website. Lots of free resources there. We're so excited to partner with Kathleen Law today, who is in her 13th year of teaching and is a certified Orton Gillingham teacher. Her passion lies in teaching young readers and empowering the grown-ups who work with them. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, Janet. It's great being here.
Okay, before we get started, we're going to start with a few housekeeping items. We've muted the participants for clear audio purposes, and please put your questions in the Q&A. They'll be addressed there or saved to the end during our Q&A portion. We will send you the link to our webinar recording as well, and it will also be available on our website. There will be contact information on the final slide tonight. So if you'd like to receive more information about Lexplore or free resources or assessment, please feel free to reach out. And also Kathleen Law's contacts will be there as well. So let's get started. Okay, I'm going to actually turn off my camera so I'm not distracted. In each of our webinars, we're going to focus on one of the 5 essential components of reading development. While isolating each component and diving deeply, it is also important to consider how the development of each component is dependent upon the development of the others. The 5 essential components of reading instruction are phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary. It is important we put the initial focus, the instructional focus, on phonological awareness and phonics, as they are the building blocks needed to develop the other components. Just like phonics and phonological awareness, the other 3 components need to be taught explicitly. So we're going to take a real quick look at each of those components. So we're starting with phonological awareness. That is the ability to hear, isolate, and manipulate sounds in the spoken word. Developing this skill set is the first step in establishing the foundation needed to build the phonics, decoding, and the fluency skills. Phonics. Phonics is the component where the sounds are attached to the symbols. It is the systematic relationship between letters and sounds. It's like a set of rules that determine the letter or letter combinations that correspond with the phonemes or the sounds. Decoding is how you apply those rules. Fluency begins with word recognition skills and reading words automatically. This automaticity enables readers to read like they're talking and also allows the reader to put that mental effort into the meaning of the text rather than putting that mental effort into decoding the words and then finding meaning. Fluency is also necessary for understanding what is being read. So comprehension is the ability to derive meaning and interpretations from the words on the page. Vocabulary can be categorized in 3 tiers of complexity. Vocabulary can be attained both directly from explicit instruction and then indirectly from reading and language experiences like just talking and having conversations. A broader vocabulary translates into more familiar words on a page, enhancing fluency and comprehension. This chart illustrates the progression of the instructional focus. While we can see that the foundational components are phonological awareness and phonics, it is important to note that the other components are always present. They're always present in instruction, even in the earliest stages. Vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency should be included through modeling, demonstrating, and consistent exposure through discussions. Instructionally, the components overlap and then they build upon each other. Okay, and then Kathleen.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Janet. As Janet mentioned, my name is Kathleen Law, and I am an elementary teacher in the Oregon area. I have spent most of my 13 years in first and second grade, and along that way, I found my passion in teaching reading. So learning to read requires students to break words into individual sounds represented by letters. But before we can introduce those letters, students need to have a strong foundation in phonological awareness skills. So phonological awareness is the understanding that language is made up of words that are made up of individual sounds. Phonological awareness is all auditory, and it can be practiced with your eyes closed or in the dark. The main goal of phonological awareness is that students are able to hear, isolate, and manipulate the sounds in words. According to B.A. Blatchman, more than 90% of students with significant reading problems have a core deficit in their ability to process phonological information. The good news is phonological awareness can be developed through carefully planned instructions given by teachers and/or parents. According to Blatchman, providing readers with intensive phonological awareness instruction 15 to 20 minutes per day has been shown to result in considerable gains. Okay, I like to think of phonological awareness as an umbrella with specific skills underneath. Phonological awareness skills start at the word level and increase in complexity as we narrow the focus to the sound level. Using multisensory activities when teaching phonological awareness is not only more engaging and fun, but it gives students access to learning through several modalities. Multisensory learning involves the use of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic tactile activities to enhance memory and learning of language. The first step in phonological awareness is identifying words in a sentence. You may have also heard this as concept of spoken word. We want students to understand that a group of letters separated by a space is a word that has meaning. There are many multisensory ways to practice words in a sentence, such as clapping the words, moving counters that represent each word, or jumping, as you will see in this video. Do you like cake?
Do you like cake?
Great. The next step is rhyme and alliteration. I'm going to start with discussing what rhyme is. Words that rhyme have the same ending sound. For example, the at sound in the word mat is the same at sound in the word cat, rat, splat. And so you can see that rhyming knowledge helps students find patterns in reading and spelling. We want students to be able to do 3 different skills with rhyme. We want them to know when 2 or more words rhyme. We want them to be able to produce their own rhymes. And we want them to be able to complete a sentence or phrase that rhyme. Now, alliteration is the identification and production of words that begin with the same initial sound. They can also be known as tongue twisters, like Peter Piper. Here is an example of both rhyme practice and alliteration.
Do hat and cat rhyme?
Yes.
Please complete the sentence. The bug crawled on the...
Rug.
Good. What word rhymes with ham?
Bam.
Good. What sound do you hear at the beginning of each word? Adam ate apples.
Ah.
Very good. Do you have
Real quick, we can't hear you, Kathleen.
Is that okay, Melissa?
Yep. Now we can hear you. Perfect.
Better? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The next step is syllables. Syllables are the single uninterrupted segment of sound consisting of at least one vowel. The most common way to practice syllable segmentation is clapping. Here's an example of syllable segmentation using a pipe cleaner and beads to count.
count the syllables in the word dinosaur?
So.
Great. We want students to be able to segment, blend, and delete syllables.
Count this.
Okay, as we start to narrow in on the phoneme or the sound level, this is the beginning of phonemic awareness. Janet will be discussing this, and phonemic awareness is a subset of skills under phonological awareness. Beginning sound isolation activities are a great way to help students develop their phoneme isolation skills. Beginning sound isolation is simply pulling the first sound off of a spoken word. Here's an example of isolating the initial sound in a word using Play-Doh.
Your word is top. Where is the t sound?
At the beginning.
Good. Can you smush it?
Smush.
Very good. Your word.
Again, as we start to narrow our focus on the sound level, we are in the beginning stages of phonemic awareness. Onset is the initial sound before the vowel, and the rhyme is the final cluster of letters. In the word ran, the r sound is the onset and an is the rhyme. It's important to use only one syllable words when teaching onset and rhyme. Onset and rhyme help students decode and find spelling patterns.
Phonemic awareness. So phonemic awareness is a subset of phonological awareness. This is when readers can isolate single sounds in words, and there are varying levels of complexity. Onset and rhymes are just the beginning. When a reader comes to an unknown word on a page, he or she will identify the sounds, the letter sounds, and correspond them to the letters and the letter combinations, and then blend the sounds to say the words. Translating letters into sounds and then blending those sounds to say the word is a complex process. There are many steps. It is important to be sure that students are proficient in verbally blending the sounds before moving to the decoding of the written words. So for these exercises, these are verbal exercises and they're not associated with the symbols or the letters yet, because we want to make sure that children are proficient in manipulating these sounds. When we start our blending, we usually point to one letter at a time and say the sounds. And there was, according to recent 2020 research of Gonzalez, Fry, and Erhai, the connected blending is more effective than sound segmenting in teaching readers to decode unknown words. And what that means is, here you see the boy saying each individual sound, ah, n, and then to blend, whereas the girl is saying them in a connected speech stream, man, which they found to be a more effective approach. Segmenting. When a child needs to write a word, They break it up into phonemes or individual sounds, and then in their mind, they're translating those sounds into the corresponding letters or letter combinations. Then they write those letters to write the words. So it's important to isolate and develop the verbal piece of that, the verbal segmenting skill, before moving to attaching the symbols and writing the words. And there is very good reason for that, because the segmenting is the skill necessary for beginning spelling and word recognition. Readers recognize words that are familiar to them and also words that are made up of familiar word parts. So segmenting sounds establishes the concepts of the sound parts in words that will later then be associated with a letter or letters. This lays the groundwork for recognizing word parts. For example, bat. Bat is a familiar word, but scat may not be, but may be read fluently because the reader sees it as a familiar word part with just a different initial sound. The purpose of verbally segmenting sounds is to develop a stronger, more proficient ability to manipulate and isolate sounds in words, in a word, to read and to later read and write the words. Okay, so there are many multisensory approaches to phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is an auditory skill and verbal skill that can present challenges for some learners. You can be sure to reach all learners by using various multisensory approaches. You can access many free demonstrations of multisensory approaches to phonemic awareness in our Lunch with Lexplore series on our YouTube channel or our website. And this is just a picture of one of those videos. There are many types of manipulatives that you can use to make this auditory skill a hands-on experience. I love using Pompoms. I use Pompoms all the time in my classroom. And I also use little foam cubes. When I was home with remote learning, I had, I was limited with my supplies. So I was using game pieces or caps to milk bottles. But I love using Pompoms to create a tactile learning experience for my students. Each Pompom represents a single phoneme. Now, let's take a look at the video. This is how.
At. At. Cat.
And I actually have the students tap the top of the pom-pom because it gives them more tactile experience. Now, many of us are teaching remotely, and we have to get creative with continuing to make these experiences multisensory. So in this picture on the right, you can see me in front of my green screen, and I model the appropriate tapping behavior on the pom-poms for the children to blend. And they actually have 3 pom-poms at home in front of them, but they can use cotton balls or anything like that. But I liked having the big visual on my green screen to help guide them through this practice. So blending and segmenting words on your arm is another way to make this complex process a tactile and kinesthetic experience for the optimum learning. Establishing a set routine. So when I do these activities in the class, they know that their arm has to be straight, and they know each step of the routine, and that helps optimize your time. So establishing this routine for the activities is key to success. Here, the teacher says the word first. That's the step 1. The student repeats the word and then breaks it down on his arm and then repeats it again. The student uses a straight horizontal arm, beginning the sound on the shoulder. The middle sound is the elbow, and the final sound is the wrist. Once again, on the right, you'll see that I use the green screen for visual support. It's a visual support slide that helps keep my students engaged for remote learning. Let's take a look at our student here.
Sound segmenting. Bed.
Bed.
Break it down.
Bed. Bed.
Okay, so you just want to be sure that you have a designated time scheduled each day to include these fun phonological awareness skills and activities. Be sure to establish routines for each activity so you can optimize your time. These activities should be quick and they should be completed daily to ensure all learners are getting the support they need. So in my classroom right now during remote learning, phonemic awareness and phonological awareness are the very first activity I do, because I have them with their freshest minds and they're the most focused first thing in the morning. And I feel it's such an important skill. When I'm in the classroom, I usually do it to transition between two main subjects, or if we're moving from the rug to the tables or the desks, I will stop in another area and do a phonemic awareness activity, but it's one that is set in the schedule. So how does phonological awareness relate to reading development? A foundation in sound knowledge is needed to hear, isolate, and manipulate sounds and words. This helps readers recognize auditory sound patterns, which will then help translate into written sound patterns. If a student is struggling in decoding, the next step would be to assess to determine if he or she has strong phonological awareness skills. Okay, so how do we support our readers? Well, continuing to provide a literacy and language-rich environment for your learners. Language-rich is just as important in those early years, practicing with the vocabulary, engaging in discussions about what we're reading. And you can also use Kathleen and Kathleen's activities and the activities that I demonstrated to assess how well your student or child is doing with phonological awareness. Also, routine reading assessments are necessary to monitor progress and make sure that readers are proficient in the different reading skill components. The Lexplore reading assessment can assess a student's reading level in just 3 to 5 minutes with real-time results, including and also including an auditory and eye tracking recording for your records and review. Also, this is exciting that Lexplore is about to launch an at-home digital reading check that assesses fluency, accuracy, and phonics skills. So be sure to keep your eyes out for that announcement of the launch. Now we have a few minutes for questions. If we have questions, my colleague from Lexplore is here to help us with the Q&A.
Yeah, so there was just a quick question of, will you get the recording? And yes, the recording will be sent out to all of those who attended today. So you'll get that probably in the next 48 hours. You can always check our website. We do have all of our previous webinars are recorded and are posted on our website. So you can find all of our great resources there. And that's at lexplore.com.
And thank you. Here's our contact information. If anyone is interested in reaching out and finding out more about Lexplore. Melissa, did we have any other questions?
Nope, it was just that one.
Okay.
And I think Kathleen has some great resources on her. Is it?
Yes.
Go ahead and speak to that.
Yes, I was. So here's my contact information. If you have any interest in finding out more about the resources at Lexplore or our assessment, and Kathleen Law, here is her contact information. She also offers a lot of great support with the phonological awareness assessment for parents. If you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much for attending today. We hope to see you all tomorrow for Lexplore's Clear View of Reading, Phonics, and Decoding webinar. So each webinar in this series will focus on one of the 5 essential reading components. So you can head over to our website to check that out if you haven't already done so. Kathleen, thank you so much for the generosity of your time and your helpful tips and tools. Thanks so much.
It was a blast. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.